Hello, bonjour, Kazwai, Kunjani, Molwe, Sunnywold. Today we're in SA, South African house music. Volume so we can jump straight into things, into business. Okay. I'll have just a little bit of the music in the background, just so that you don't get bored and lethargic. Okay, so I've been getting a lot of requests to do a part 2 of the topic I embarked on, which is my journey from religion, which was Christianity, to spirituality. So at the moment, I'm writing a book and kind of autobiography, and at the moment, it's still a work in progress, but I'm actually going to read a snippet of my experience, and I'll follow it through from the book. So this is actually going to be a video on what happened when I went to the mountain, and I'm going to give you a vivid explanation, a really a detailed account of what actually transpired in the mountain. So I went with this woman, and this is what happened. The morning had finally come. With convicted heart and resolute determination, I walked to the main road to catch an omnibus, which was then a common form of transport. I embarked on the transport, all the while anxious, yet hopeful, and somewhat exhausted, yet left without alternative but to persevere, as I was imminently face to face with the finish line. I could literally feel the prize in my hand. And here, what I'm talking about is actually the fact that I felt like I was face to face with my breakthrough. I'd been battling for so long. I'd been having a spiritual battle raging around me, and I couldn't make sense of it. And I thought, now I'm actually going to find some time to rest, and I'll be more empowered after the pilgrimage. So what I did was, I went to a place called Mbare Mutsika. It's a place where you get buses that go to these rural areas. So when I got there, I met the woman that I was supposed to go with. Let's call her Mrs. M. So when I met Mrs. M, we got onto a bus. I actually paid the fare for her because she was saying she didn't have money to pay for the bus fare. And the thing is, I was so desperate to go with somebody to this mountain because I thought that was my only way out of my predicament. So we got onto the bus and we dropped off at a place called the Cross. It's called the Cross, and it's on the way to a place, rural areas called Murewa. So we got down, and then we took our bags, and we started to make our way towards the mountain. So we came to this place, to this mountain. It was a massive, massive mountain, and people didn't frequent it, like I said before. So it was a holy place. It was regarded as sacred, and people didn't frequent it. So we walked towards the mountain, and then we came to this place in the mountain, by the mountainside, which it seemed practically impossible to go up the mountain. So we tried to ascend, and then there was just no way we were going to get to the top because it was so steep. So we came back down again, and then we found another way of climbing on the mountain. So now on the mountain, we went and we found a little place where we put our little cloths on the floor, and underneath a little tree, a couple of bushes, where we could have a bit of shade as well. And it was a sunny day. It was quite warm that day. So we started to confess our sins, and we started to pray, and we started to sing, and we would have discussions. And this woman was a seer. She could see things in the spirit. So basically, the both of us felt that we had the guidance of the Holy Spirit to give us visions and to tell us which way to go and what to do and what we need to correct to do with our personalities. So what happened was, at night time, we put our heads down for a bit of a nap. And when we were sleeping, the funny thing is, I was so scared. I was so scared. And in that mountain, I had a dream. I dreamt I was in a building, a large, tall building. So I was very fearful in my dream. And I was going up the stairs, I'm going up the stairs, I'm going up the stairs. And then when I got to the top of the stairs of the building, I realized there was absolutely nothing to fear. That my fear was it didn't have a basis, you know. So that's when I got the confirmation, basically, that although I felt fearful in this mountain, it was okay, there was nothing I needed to fear. But there was something strange that was going on. Each time I opened my eyes in the middle of the night, I would find this woman staring back at me. And I found it very awkward. And she said to me, "You know what, Kim? I should have brought my daughter with, you know, because, you know, she would have been delivered as well on this mountain." So I didn't understand what she meant, but when I look in retrospect, it makes sense, and I'll explain to you as I go along. So we spent 3 days in this mountain and 3 nights. We had popcorn. It's called maputi in Zimbabwe, and we had water. We'd found a little spring where we were getting fresh water from, and that's all that was part of our diet. It was more like a type of fasting, but not so much a dry fast. So on the 3rd day, the final day, I started to feel really ill, and I had a runny stomach, I threw up, And I couldn't make sense of it because we weren't eating proper food. We were just eating popcorn and having water. So what happened is we came down the mountain. I was convinced that I had achieved my breakthrough, even though I wasn't feeling so good within myself. So we went down the mountain, and then I bought they called freezers. They're just like small types of juice that we drink in, and it's packaged in a plastic, and we drink it quite often in Zimbabwe. So I bought a couple of those, but my thirst wasn't getting quenched. So I got onto the omnibus again to return with this woman to go back to Mbare. And as we were on the omnibus, the radio was on. But as the radio was playing, I found it really, really awkward because it felt like there were like amplifiers in my ear. And I could hear this radio so loud, it was right by my ear. And at that moment, I wasn't conscious that my world had been flipped around or upside down. At that moment, I was still thinking, no, I've made a breakthrough. I've fulfilled what I'm supposed to fulfill. I'd been told by previous seers that you need to go to a mountain and spend 3 days and 3 nights eating popcorn and water and just praying to God, and that's your breakthrough. And so I had fulfilled it. And I was convinced, in my heart, my conviction was so strong that, I had had my breakthrough. And I was anticipating life to become easier. But lo and behold, to my surprise, life was only starting to happen. So I went back home, and I got into the house, and I was so tired. And I took a bath, I had some sleep, I got some rest, I had some food. I used to live alone in my mother's flat in a town called, in a suburb called Glenora. And I still wasn't feeling well. So what transpired afterwards is that I started to feel a headache coming on. And I was just thinking, it's an ordinary headache, it's gonna go away, and I'm gonna start feeling better, maybe just need some medication. But at that time, I was almost completely disorientated. I didn't know what time it was, what the date was, what was happening in the community. I was completely on my own, so to speak, in my experience. So what I did was, when this headache ensued, it got worse and worse and worse. So I experienced the headache for what I thought was 3 weeks. But as a person who was disorientated, it could have been shorter, it could have been longer. I wasn't really sure, but it was just an incessant headache, and it was so intense, like a migraine. And as that headache subsided, that's when I felt my whole world had turned around. My heart was palpitating. I was so scared. I was experiencing the type of fear that you would refer to as terror. I felt so much terror. It was an intense fear. And it was overwhelming. But that's where I realized that my whole world had been flipped around. I couldn't do basic things like go outside to throw away the bins or get rid of the garbage. It had become like a mammoth task for me. And I was so afraid to go out where people were. And I felt so desperate for peace of mind, for stability, for comfort, for answers. Because all I had now was questions to which nobody could give me an answer. Because it didn't make sense to me that I had just completed a journey where I was supposedly supposed to have made my breakthrough, but instead it felt like I had fallen so many feet below ground level. So yeah, that's where the real predicament began. For today, I'll leave it at that, and please make sure to subscribe. Any questions you have, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll respond as to the best of my ability, and also I am welcoming advice from yourselves, and I'm hoping this will enlighten people. I did say I'm not trying to bash any religion, but it was quite an ordeal when I was in that religion. I don't know if that's the way to account for it, but yeah, I was left in a predicament, so to speak. So yeah, please just get back to me if you want to know anything more, but I'll do more videos in the future. Thank you.